When the Sefer Torah is read in public on a Shabbat, Mondays, Thursdays, and festivals, it is not simply read, but it is sung. And there is a specific tune in which the Sefer Torah is sung. In fact, on each of the letters, on each of the words of the Sefer Torah, there is a musical note, which is referred to by its Yiddish name as the trop. And one of the great commentators, Rabbeinu Bechaya of the Middle Ages from Spain, said that just as the soul is to the body, just as the soul animates and moves the body, so it is that the musical notes animate and give life to the words of the Torah. If one would just read the Torah, Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael, it sounds a little bit dead. But when you add a tune to it, Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe lemor, it becomes more meaningful. It's full of emotion. It's full of meaning. And each of these musical notes has a certain purpose. We're not sure why it is that each word has to have this particular note. But sometimes we can look at the Torah and discover that there are musical notes that tend to teach us a particular lesson. And one of these is to be found in this week's Parsha, Parshat Tzav. In fact, it is a musical note that appears only 4 times in the entire Chumash, in the entire books of Moses. And this musical note is called a shalshelet. The word shalshelet, in fact, means chain. And this is a very long trop. And it goes on for some time. It would go somewhat like this. Shalshelet. And we find it 4 times. The first time is in the story of Lot, the nephew of Avraham, in Sodom. The angels come to Sodom, 2 of the angels, and they tell Lot that God is about to destroy the city. He should take his family, his wife, his children, and he should flee and go as quickly as possible. And there the Torah tells us, Vayitmahama, he delayed. He looked back for a moment. And on that word, Vayitmahama, he delayed, there is the shalshelet. There was a moment of hesitation on Lot's behalf. And what was that moment of hesitation? He was worried about his money. He was leaving behind all of his possessions. So the angel said to him, this is no time to hesitate. Your life is worth more than your possessions. Run quickly, go now. The second time we find the trop, the musical note shalshelet, is in the story of Eliezer, the servant of Avraham, who went to find a bride for Yitzhak. And he travels from Avraham's home, and he goes to where Rivka lives. It's a long journey. And he comes to the well, and there he sees the young maidens of the city coming out and drawing water. And he says to Hashem, if a young lady comes out and I ask her for water and she gives me water, and then of her own accord she offers water to the camels, then that proves that she is a kind young lady and that she is the one who is appropriate to marry Yitzhak. And while he's engaged in this discussion with Hashem, we find the trop, the shalshelet. There is a hesitation on behalf of Eliezer, the servant of Avraham. And what is this hesitation? Rashi explains, because Eliezer had a daughter of his own, and he wanted that daughter to marry Yitzhak, and therefore there was this hesitation. The third time we find the shalshelet is in the story that relates to us about Joseph and his mistress in the house of Potiphar. And the Torah tells us that Potiphar's wife was absolutely mad about Yosef. She would change her clothing all of the time. She would make herself up. She tried to seduce him. But he always was able to fob off all of her advances. But it happened on one fateful day that they were alone in the house and that she made this advance to him, and he hesitated for a moment. In that moment, we find the trop shalshelet. There was a hesitation. He felt maybe he should give in after all. Why did he hesitate? Because his Yetzer Hara, his evil inclination, got the better of him. And Rashi explains it was only because he saw at that moment a vision of his father Yaakov that he stopped. These are the 3 shalshelets, and they are all found in the book of Bereshit. There is only one more, and it is in this week's Parsha, in Parshat Tzav. And here the Torah describes the Miluim, the days of the initiation, the inauguration of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And during those 7 days, the high priest was Moshe, not Aaron, not Aaron the first high priest. Moshe served for 7 days. And at the end of the 7th day, he had to hand over that mantle to his brother Aaron. Aaron would now become the high priest. And it describes Moshe as slaughtering the final offering. And on that word, vayishchat, he slaughtered, is the shalshelet. There is a hesitation. But in this case, it is a positive hesitation. Why did Moshe hesitate? Because he had served God in this capacity for 7 days, and he didn't want to give it over. Not because he was a person who wanted power, but because of the incredible privilege and honor of serving Hashem. And serving him as the high priest was not something that he could easily part with. And therefore the Shalshelet teaches us a very important lesson about life. There are times when it is appropriate to be hesitant, and there are times where it is inappropriate to be hesitant. When it came to Lot, that was inappropriate. When your life is in danger, you don't think about your money. When it came to Eliezer, he was on a mission to find an appropriate wife for Yitzhak. This was no time to hesitate. And when it came to Yosef, he hesitated because he considered performing the sin. When you know that something is morally wrong, there's no time for hesitation whatsoever. And therefore, the only time we should hesitate is in this week's parasha, the same as Moshe, who hesitated for a moment, because even though Hashem had instructed him, please hand over the mantle of leadership to Aaron, he felt that he wanted to hang on to it. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.